Greetings everyone, it's your boy, the Ant-Man here. Well, with the success of Scooby and the Gang's first live-action outing in 2002, of course it seemed appropriate to create a sequel. Or should I say, it seemed appropriate for Hollywood to create a sequel. Nothing personal, just saying. Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed came out on March 26th, 2004, and features the same actors reprising their roles for Scooby and the rest of Mystery Inc. This was also, once again, directed by Raja Gosnell and written by James Gunn. The film opens with Mystery Inc. showing up at the opening of an exhibition at the Coulsonian Criminology Museum, commemorating their past mysteries with monster and ghost costumes on display. Things are going well until a being who goes by the name of the Evil Masked Figure makes an appearance and vows to destroy the city of Coolsville by creating real monsters. The first one of these is actually the Pterodactyl Ghost, who ends up stealing a couple of the costumes from the museum and leaves with the Evil Masked Figure. The press and journalists are indeed disappointed by Mystery Inc.'s failure in not stopping the costumes from being stolen, and naturally, they all feel the need to be blamed for it. Shaggy and Scooby then have the idea to improve upon themselves to become more competent detectives. That way, they can show the other three that they are indeed worthy of being a part of the group. They soon pay a visit to the mansion of Jeremiah Winkles, who was actually a former cellmate of Jonathan Jacobo, a mad scientist who was also the original Pterodactyl Ghost. Fred, Daphne, and Velma find a book within Winkles' library that instructs how to create carbon-based predators, or in other words, how to create real monsters. Meanwhile, in Shaggy and Scooby's neck of the woods, they grab a hold of a sticky note from the floor. It reads that Winkles is visiting the Faux Ghost, a villains-only nightclub in the dark corners of the city. They quickly realize they have just discovered an actual clue and start celebrating until they are chased out by the Black Knight Ghost. After the gang escapes, they return to their headquarters and Shaggy and Scooby sneak out to the Faux Ghost in order to question Winkles themselves. Velma announces that the glow of the footprints at the mansion and the reptilian scale are both made of a substance called randomonium. This mystery soon turns into an urgent mission for the gang, for the city of Coolsville may be in danger if more real monsters are created by the hands of the culprit. Will Mystery Inc. be able to get their reputation back on good terms? Will Shaggy and Scooby be able to prove themselves that they are capable of being real heroes? Will Velma truly master the art of looking so damn sexy? The answer to all of those questions is a satisfying yes. So I will admit, this is most definitely an improvement over the first film, in my honest opinion. Mainly because what already sounds like an interesting enough mystery at the start is taken up to a degree that it puts Mystery Inc. in a tight spot. Instead of just uncovering a single villain, this time we get the classic Scooby-Doo monsters coming to life, ramping up the tension as Coolsville itself is thrown into chaos. The danger feels more immediate and personal, with the whole city at risk. And the variety of iconic monsters we get to see, like the Black Knight Ghost, the 10,000 Volt Ghost, the Minor 49er, etc., adds layers of intrigue and excitement. It's a thrilling, action-packed ride, and the stakes feel higher because we are not just solving a single mystery. We as an audience are facing a full-on monster invasion along with Scooby and friends. Speaking of which, I think the character interactions are also done a lot better here. I love how each of them have their own running course of story arcs throughout the film. I took issue with how in the first one, where at the end, they just shoehorned in a romantic moment between Fred and Daphne, even though there was no indication that they liked each other prior to that happening. It quite literally did feel like fan service. It's almost as if the writers were like, oh well, Fred and Daphne have always been hinted at having a thing for each other in the cartoons, so how about we just throw in this lovey-dovey moment at the end, just cuz. Here in the sequel, however, Fred and Daphne do have more one-on-one time together and kind of have a spark growing as they just talk and say what's on their mind. I don't think I've realized until recently just how much these movies impacted the Scooby-Doo franchise with how the characters would act in the iterations after this. At one point in the movie, Fred is a little clueless as to what Daphne asks him about her seemingly just being a quote-unquote pretty face. The way he responds and how she reacts to what he says, I will admit, is kind of funny.
I mean, yes. I mean, not fat. Definitely not fat. Is this sort of what you're looking for?
Fat? Why would you even use that word?
Seriously, this would 100% be a conversation that Fred and Daphne would have in the Mystery Incorporated series. Minus Fred talking about his freaking traps over and over again. Some folks may disagree, but I don't know. I feel like their chemistry was way more fleshed out in this movie. The stuff done with Velma, I think, is also pretty charming. She is also given her own original love interest in this movie, in the form of Patrick Wisely, played by Seth Green, who is the curator of the Criminology Museum.
There's something about the way that I can't take my eyes off you. Something about the
When the two of them first interact, we soon find out they are indeed compatible, given that they have similar interests in solving mysteries and such. Then, right at the moment when Velma is asked out on a date from Patrick, she makes up an excuse about not being able to go and walks off feeling awkward. Later on, Daphne then tries boosting up her confidence when Patrick shows up at their headquarters, and how she does that is she gives Velma a makeover, turning her into, and I quote, glamorous, mysterious, adventurous, jet-setter, hot babe. Now you might be wondering how that goes. Well... God.
Who's your mommy?
You are my mommy. I will treat you right. I will lick you up like a chocolate sundae, baby. Yeah, just come here.
Get on with it. Yes, get on with it.
Okay. I'm sorry. Just got a little carried away. You know what? Yeah, that's it. I'm thirsty, okay? Just gotta do something about it. Now, you know what? I gotta drink something. Yeah, that'll help with my thirstiness. Where the hell's my water? Anyway, after Velma's given her makeover, her date with Patrick is soon cut short due to the museum being ransacked, with more costumes being stolen. Patrick himself is quite upset over this and parts ways with Velma, saying he has to go and find answers as to why all of this happened. She is, of course, feeling upset over this at first, but later on it hits her that it's important to solve the mystery first before anything else. How this arc concludes, in my opinion, is the best part of both Velma and the main duo subplots. Near the climax, Velma tells Shaggy and Scooby that they are now in charge of the control panel that has to be connected to the machine to kill the monsters. The duo doubt themselves and are feeling down and out due to them not feeling like heroes, unlike the other three members. The inspirational words that Velma gives to them are actually well written and pretty profound.
guys are so free. You're never afraid to be who you really are. Whether you're fearful or joyful or hungry. I think you've been heroes all along. You just haven't known it.
This scene on its own works because I feel a good chunk of the audience watching could somewhat empathize with how Scooby and Shaggy feel about not contributing to anything. Or so they think. I'm bringing this up because, well, believe it or not, there are actually times even in my personal life where I felt like I didn't belong and I wasn't as good enough as other people. As a longtime fan, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy have always been heroes to me, and other folk who may be afraid of a lot of things, but never too afraid to not step up and help their friends when needed. Overall, I think Scooby and Mystery Inc. as a whole are far better handled here compared to the first film, which I'm happy for. The side characters are fine on their own, but nothing really groundbreaking. Patrick makes for an okay love interest to Velma, and has just the right amount of awkward charisma to where you actually do like him. He's also one of the few red herrings throughout the film, along with Heather Jasper Howe and Old Man Winkles. He's probably the best one, given the fact that he has certain scenes where he just comes off as creepy. Like, there's a scene right before Shaggy and Scooby check out the mining town. They bump into Patrick, who is trying to get answers out of someone. Now, at first, they're all just talking and joking around. Then my man makes like James McAvoy by making his personality split. I swear, if Seth Green was ever casted to play a psychotic serial killer, I guarantee you he would get a shit ton of Oscar nominations. Far more deserving than anyone or anything in Emilia Perez.
I said what I said!
Heather Jasper Howe is by all means not a terrible character, but not exactly a memorable one either. Old Man Winkles, I would say, is the second best behind Patrick of the side characters, given the fact that he does strike as a huge suspect for the mystery, and is not exactly the most friendly man either. So, if you've made it this far into the review, you must think I really love this movie. Well, yes, I do. However, that does not mean I think it's a perfect piece of cinema with nothing wrong. For one thing, I am pretty half and half when it comes to the special effects. Back in my review of the first film, I criticized the CGI for not looking all that good. I will admit, from a filmmaking standpoint, sure, those effects have not aged all that well, even since then. At the same time, they did show an effort to capture the spirit of the original Scooby-Doo cartoons. I came to realize this more and more thanks to Cinematic Venom's review of the first film, where he makes that exact point.
The CGI would make the Spy Kids franchise laugh in despair, so what in fuck's name was the $84 million production budget used for?
But that's what I don't really understand with the criticisms. People have ripped on the CGI of Scooby-Doo, but it's Scooby-Doo. Did you see the cartoon? Were you seriously expecting Gollum special effects? Imagine if Scooby-Doo came out and it looked like the fucking Wolfman. Imagine if it looked like the Ninja Turtles remake. It just wouldn't fit. This is silly and charming, and amazingly, it looks exactly like the cartoon, which is the whole point.
Here in the sequel, however, I feel like they have stepped up their game and actually improved as far as having better CGI. Scooby-Doo himself has a little more depth and liveliness to his fur. His physicality has a much better balance between being almost like a real dog, but still being cartoony. The same can also be said for the monsters. They are designed with a great mix of practical suiting and CGI, so there is at least a sense of versatility for when you see them on screen chasing after the gang. Speaking of better, I would say even the comedy has improved. One of my favorite bits is when the duo are drinking up experiments in the laboratory that is under the mining town, and they are just transforming into different things. Scooby goes from being a Monsters, Inc. reject to the Tasmanian Devil to The friggin' hound dog equivalent of Doc Brown. In other words, a mad scientist.
Yeah, mad scientist. It's so cool. Son of a bitch.
Meanwhile, Shaggy goes from having a woman's body with boobs. Wait, what?
I've got a chick's body!
Why does Shaggy have boobies? In what universe is this accepted? Who in their right sane mind would ever come up with anything like this? It just does not compute. Why? Why does Shaggy have boobies? Oh my god, I think I'm gonna. I am! Oh my god. Wait, I'm not done! Let's just move on, shall we? So, Shaggy goes from transforming into that to a muscle-bound douche bro? Of course, it's what we've always wanted! Another comedy highlight is when Shaggy and Scooby are trying to track down Old Man Winkles at the villain bar. They try to make things easy, given the fact that if they just walk up in there as their normal selves, then they would get bodied immediately by every single villain, or worse. So naturally, Shaggy gets the idea to put himself and Scooby in the most perfect disguise.
Everyone part like the Red Sea. It's me, Shizzy McCreepy, and my brother SD McCauley. We are in the house and ready to partay.
Party?
Okay, agree to disagree with me here, but these are, in my opinion, Shaggy and Scooby's best disguises. Those outfits, while a little silly, not gonna lie, they do also go hard as hell. But I'm sorry. Shaggy, Scooby, for the sake of this review, I must roast both of your asses.
Oh shit!
Shaggy, you look like a stoner white boy from a trailer park who tried so hard to cosplay as a pimp named Slickback, but failed miserably. Scooby, yo ass looking like the bastard child of John Travolta in Saturday Night Fever and Don Cornelius. Also, for the record, I really love the visual humor regarding the villain's animosity towards Scooby and the gang. As Scooby and Shaggy are looking, you see that the villains have their very own version of Whack-A-Mole, except this time, the heads popping out of the holes are of each member of Mystery Inc. Not to mention the pictures of the gang being imprinted on boards for the villain's very own target practice. Like, bro, I swear. These visual gags don't just deliver laughs, they also help to reinforce the movie's over-the-top, self-aware humor. And it's these little touches that make the movie so much fun to watch. So, yeah, okay. Is this the best thing to come out of the Scooby-Doo franchise? No. Is it at least a fun and enjoyable adventure? Yes. And most importantly, is it 10 times better than the first film? You bet your ass it is. Scooby-Doo 2 takes the foundation of its predecessor and builds on it almost every way. The mystery is more engaging, the dynamic between the gang feels more natural, and the comedy is sharper, with better writing and some genuinely funny visual gags. The CGI, while still a product of its time, is much more polished, adding to the fun rather than detracting from it. While the film isn't without its flaws, it is still a solid, entertaining ride from start to finish. Whether you're a longtime Scooby-Doo fan or just looking for a lighthearted, nostalgic adventure, this movie is definitely worth checking out. It is a film that knows exactly what it is. An absurd, fun-filled ride with all the charm of the classic cartoon. And sometimes, that's all you need. I give Scooby-Doo 2 an 8 out of 10. Thank you all so much for watching today's episode. Next time, we'll be hitching a ride with the family of the future. And also, we're going to have an environmental message. 'Cause you know, that's always fun, right? But until then, here's your boy the Ant-Man signing off. Deuces. Oh, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Ha 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 ha!